When Jessica was being bullied by the school bullies, I tried to protect her and ended up being severely beaten. I became a lame person unable to have children. The bullies were sentenced to prison. Later, Jessica became a new generation popular star. To my surprise, she publicly accused me of sexual harassment and controlling her personal freedom. I was killed by her fanatical fans who slit my throat just before I died. She sneered and said, "If it weren't for you, how could James have gone to prison? I want you to pay for my lost love with your life." When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn back to the day when Jessica was dragged into the grove by the bullies. This time, I'll stand by and fearly that scumbag and the scheming woman are made for each other. It hurts. It really hurts. I suddenly woke up from my bed, sitting up in fear. I touched my neck subconsciously, as if the excruciating pain of being slit still lingered there before I could fully come to my senses. I instinctively took out my phone from under the pillow to check the time. It was 5 a.m. on December 25th. I was reborn. Back to the day that changed my life. Today, Jessica and I would be stopped on our way to school by James, the bully. Along with his minions, Jessica would be forcefully dragged into the grove by James, who intended to have an intimate encounter with her. In my previous life, I protected her, fought against 10 of them, and was finally stabbed in the kidney by James, who played dirty when I was lying on the ground, bleeding profusely. He even broke my legs with a stick. Jessica hid in the corner, too scared to call the police. It was a kind-hearted classmate passing by who called 911 for me. I was rushed to the ICU for emergency treatment. At the age of 18, I became a lame person unable to bear children after the incident. Since James was already 18 years old and an adult, the police held him criminally responsible and sentenced him to 10 years in prison. Jessica, safe and sound, sobbed in her parents' arms. I thought she was crying because of my injuries and even comforted her not to be sad, but I never expected that she was crying for James, who was in prison. I never blamed her for this because I also thought she was a victim. Later, Jessica entered the entertainment industry, and I became her manager. I accompanied her all the way to the peak. But when she achieved fame and success, she publicly accused me on the internet. I was wrongly accused of sexual harassment and controlling her. In the end, I was stabbed hundreds of times and had my throat slit by one of her perverted and fanatical fans. I never thought that in my short 30-year life, I would be stabbed twice because of a woman how I hated, how I resented. Fortunately, God had mercy on me and gave me a chance to start over this life. I won't meddle in your business anymore, Jessica. You deal with the people you provoked on your own. It was 5 a.m. now. There were still 2.5 hours before going out to school. Jessica was my neighbor, and we were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. Our parents had a good relationship. Since primary school, we had always studied in the same school and the same class. I was also assigned a responsibility by our parents to protect her. We always went to and from school together. But today, no matter what, I couldn't go out with her. I got up decisively and went into the bathroom. In the cold December, I took a cold shower for an hour. By 6 o'clock, I had already started to have a fever. At 7 o'clock, my mom pushed open my door and called me to get up for breakfast in school. At this time, I had a high fever. "Mom, can I not go to school today?" I said to my mom in a hoarse voice. Oh, why are you suddenly sick, my child? With you like this, who has the heart to make you go to school? All right. I'll call your teacher to ask for leave. Come on. Your dad and I will take you to the hospital now. My dad, who was having breakfast at the table, heard my mom's words and quickly finished his meal. Then he carried me and took me downstairs. I tightly held my phone. Only after seeing that person replied to my message did I feel relieved and fall asleep. "Son, get up quickly, your classmate is here to see you." When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on the hospital bed, getting an intravenous drip. Elena, whom I had called, was standing at the door of the ward, at a loss. "Hello, Auntie, I'm Elena. John messaged me saying he was sick and asked me to come and hand in his homework for him." After several years, I saw this gentle and well-behaved girl again, and my heart felt a pang of sadness. It was so good that she wasn't implicated by me in this life. "Good girl, come in quickly, Auntie will peel you a fruit. It's really troublesome for you." My mom greeted Elena warmly. She quickly waved her hand to refuse. "Auntie, no need. I still have to go to school." Elena lived in the neighborhood next to mine. So we took the same route to school to save time. We usually took a shortcut through a small path directly to school, and today, Jessica would be pulled into the grove beside the path by Xiaoping. In my previous life, Elena was the kind-hearted classmate who called the police for me at the same time. She secretly recorded a video to help me keep evidence, otherwise, it would have been difficult to safeguard my rights on that path without surveillance afterward. Elena suffered severe retaliation from Xiaoping's group and Xiaopun's grandmother when I woke up from the intensive care unit and wanted to thank her. She, who had excellent grades, had already been forced to drop out of school and was taken to another place by her mom. Since then, we lost contact, so I deliberately got myself sick. Not only to avoid Jessica and Xiaoping, that pair of one willing to hit and the other willing to be hit scoundrels, but also to find an excuse to keep Elena, who would take that path today, away. Elena was a very gentle, kind-hearted and warm-hearted girl, so I was sure that after receiving my message, she would come to the hospital to help me this time. If she went from the hospital to school, she would only take the main road and couldn't possibly go back to the neighborhood and take the small path. It was great in this life. Both of us avoided those scoundrels after seeing Elena off. I lay bored on the hospital bed, recalling the major events that happened in my previous life. Now that I had a new life, I would seize the initiative and make sure that those I loved and those who loved me could live a good life. Mom looked at me curiously. Son, what's your relationship with that girl? My mom can't hold back her words. So she couldn't help but ace. In the first 18 years of my life, I was only close to Jessica. Among girls, my youthful infatuation and budding love were obvious to adults. Our parents on both sides knew about it, including Jessica, but she always refused me on the grounds that students should focus on their studies after I got hurt. I thought I couldn't give her happiness, so I never mentioned it again. I just wanted to be by her side. I accompanied her since her debut, devoting myself silently, but she betrayed my sincere feelings. My mom didn't expect that this time when I was sick, I didn't call Jessica but another girl instead. Mom, Jessica and I have no relationship. Don't guess randomly she has someone she likes. I don't want to meddle in you young people's affairs as long as you're happy. Parental love for their children is deep, selfless, and meticulous. This kind of love is an inborn instinct, expecting no return, only hoping for their children's happiness. In my previous life, I was unfilial. I risked my life for Jessica after the accident. My mother, who was still in her middle age, turned white-haired overnight. I was so stupid, sacrificing everything for love, but in the end, I was betrayed and got nothing after I died. My consciousness lingered for a while. I watched my parents go to Jessica to seek an explanation, but they were beaten out by the security guards even after my death. Her fans wouldn't let me go. They came to my house, splashing excrement and urines, which made my parents afraid to go out. My dad was so angry that his heart disease flared up and he died. My mother, who had lost her husband and son, no longer had the will to live. She burned down our once warm home. Now that I have a new life, I will make sure my parents live the best life. Dad took me to the hospital in the morning and then went to work. Mom doesn't have a job and is a housewife, so she stayed in the hospital to accompany and take care of me. At noon, Mom planned to go to the hospital cafeteria to buy me something to eat. Just then, she received a call from Jessica's parents. She answered it. Hello? What's wrong? Jessica's mother's angry shout came from the other end of the phone. The voice was so loud that I could hear it clearly even though Mom didn't turn on the speaker. What's wrong with your son? Why didn't he go to school with Jessica today? He said he would protect my daughter, but look at the harm my daughter suffered today. Mom was left completely confused. Hey, wait, Jessica's mom, what do you mean? My son has a high fever today and asked for leave from school. What happened to your daughter? Bring your son to the hospital right now. Jessica's mother hung up the phone angrily. Mom got a bit angry too. Even someone with a good temper like her couldn't help swearing. What a nutcase. What does her daughter's problem have to do with us? Hearing this, I knew that James had successfully got Jessica this time. Just then, the drip had finished and I had completed the intravenous infusion. Mom and I went to see Jessica together. Jessica was having a gynecological examination. Besides her mother, there was also a police officer by her side. The doctor came out with the report. This student, were you coerced? Tell us, and we can hold the other party criminally responsible. Jessica's mother cried and slapped her thigh. Which bastard did this? Tell us, Mom will stand up for you. Jessica stood there, her clothes in disarray, not daring to speak. It was John. Jessica didn't want to expose her lover. Under her mother's pressing. She said my name. That little scoundrel. I'll send him to jail. Mom and I heard all their conversation at the door. Mom sneered, pushed the door open, and rushed in front of Jessica to question her. Jessica. I used to think you were a good girl, why are you making up lies and framing my son? Auntie. Jessica's mother protectively pushed her behind. Your son has always had improper thoughts about my daughter. Who knows if he had evil intentions towards my daughter on the way to school. You're talking nonsense. My son has a high fever today and has been lying in the hospital since this morning. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance. Mom showed the police officer my medical record. The police officer flipped through it and said to Jessica, "This student, I know you've been hurt, but please tell us the real information about the perpetrator." Jessica remained silent again. Then an aunt beside her spoke up. "It really wasn't this young man. I saw it just now. It was a group of hooligans." This time, without me with her and Elena not showing up at that time either, Jessica was pulled into the grove by James for an affair. While James' brother stood outside, listening and watching. It was only later when this intruded by on a bicycle that she called the police for Jessica. Jessica didn't say anything and looked at me with tears in her eyes. "It's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with me. I won't pity you. I don't know what you mean by framing me. But I dare to do a DNA test. Do you dare?" Jessica's mom didn't like what I said. "Even if you didn't do this, you still have to be responsible for my daughter. If you hadn't left her alone to go to school, my daughter wouldn't have been targeted by those hooligans. My daughter is so well behaved. It must be you who stirred up trouble and provoked those hooligans, dragging Jessica into this." I retorted. "Auntie, what you said isn't right. Who am I to Jessica? Does your family pay me to protect her? First, we're just ordinary neighbors. Second, there's no employment relationship between us. Why should I be responsible for this? Protecting your daughter is not my obligation since you, as parents, are worried about your daughter's safety. Why don't you send her to and from school? This is your dereliction of duty. Also, the blame should be placed on the right person. Instead of coming here to give me trouble, it would be better to ask your daughter to tell who that hooligan is." My mom pulled me away angrily. "This is really ridiculous. We treated their family as friends, but they took us for fools. Don't have any more dealings with such people in the future." In the end, Jessica still didn't say James' name. Their love is really something. Jessica pulled her mom to a corner and whispered to her for a while, persuading her mom. Finally, they chose not to call the police. I knew what she would say. Jessica was an art sports student. We were in our senior year of high school this semester, and she was about to participate in the art college entrance examination if a criminal dispute broke out now. It was likely to affect her exam. Moreover, she couldn't bear to let James go to jail because they were both willing participants in my previous life. I thought James was unilaterally pestering Jessica. He often blocked Jessica at school. He would swagger into our classroom and give Jessica milk tea. He would warn every boy who got close to Jessica, saying that Jessica was his woman. I was also threatened several times by him and his minions. His minions would surround Jessica in the cafeteria and call her sister-in-law. I thought Jessica was extremely scared and disgusted with him. But I never expected that she had long been deeply in love with James. James was well known in our area. His father used to be a notorious gangster here. Later, he was shot during the crackdown on criminal gangs. And his extremely wealthy family fortune was confiscated. His mother ran away with a rich man, leaving only his grandmother to raise him. Like father, like son, James inherited his father's bad genes since junior high school. He would ride a motorcycle and fight with people from other schools. In high school, he even dropped out. He skipped classes every day to go to internet cafes and nightclubs. The school wanted to expel him. But James' grandmother came to the school, crying, making a scene, and threatening to commit suicide. The school was afraid of something bad happening and could do nothing about it. I told Jessica that we should tell the teachers and parents about James' deeds. We couldn't let a street loafer like him affect our crucial senior year. We all had bright futures ahead. While a person like him could only rot and stink in the gutter, but Jessica didn't agree with me. John, I didn't expect you to be such a person. James is pitiful enough. He has no father or mother, only his grandmother as his relative. What we should do is save him. Not push him into a deeper abyss, and he's not a hooligan, he's the school bully. He's really capable. With so many followers, he'll surely end up better off in a bookworm like you in the future. Thinking about her words now, I really admire her. Jessica saw herself as a female lead in a redemption story. Well, I'd like to see how her male lead would treat her. From that day on, the parents of the two families had a falling out, and my family and Jessica's family became bitter enemies. Jessica didn't feel guilty for framing me. Instead, she thought I was being aggressive since Jessica's parents were busy with work and had no time to pick her up and send her to school. Jessica was arranged to live in the school dormitory. Living in school made it even more convenient for this pair of lovers. Jessica would secretly sneak out to meet James during evening self-study. Although there was no grove in the school, there were toilets and a sports equipment room. James took Jessica to experience every corner of the school. At first, Jessica was a little afraid that I would find out, but later, seeing that I didn't react, she became more and more brazen. In fact, I saw everything. But I pretended not to know. Your beloved James will give you a huge surprise. Sure enough, 2 months later, during the art college entrance examination, Jessica fainted in the examination room. She was sent to the hospital, and it was found that she was pregnant. Jessica's mother rushed to the hospital after receiving the notice. She was almost crazy. Her daughter, whom she had doted on since childhood and spent a lot of money on for art learning, was pregnant at only 18. James swaggered into the hospital with a bag of apples and said to Jessica's mother arrogantly, "Since Jessica's pregnant, I'll be responsible for her. I'll raise the child if she gives birth." Jessica's mother was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but Jessica was extremely touched. She claimed that she would give birth to the crystallization of their love for James. Jessica thought that the warmth of the child and the family could redeem the degenerate James. "Mom, I love him. No one has ever treated me as well as he does. You've been so strict with me since I was a child. You don't really love me, you just want to show off having an excellent daughter, but James is different. He loves me for who I am. You strictly control my diet, while he would send me a cup of my favorite cola after dance class, and he's never stingy about expressing his love for me. He makes the whole world know that I'm the woman he loves." It's really funny. Although Jessica's father and mother had bad characters, they really doted on Jessica. They always fulfilled her requests since she was a child. Just because they had some requirements for her quality of life, Jessica thought they were controlling her, and being called sister-in-law by James' minions charmed her. Jessica's parents didn't agree. So James sent his grandmother to make trouble at Jessica's home. "Oh, you heartless people. If anything happens to my grandson, this old woman, won't live either. I'll hang myself right in front of your door." Jessica insisted on giving birth to the child and even threatened her parents, who wanted to take her for an abortion, with suicide. "Mom, I really love him. Please let me give birth to this child anyway. This year's our college entrance examination is ruined. I can repeat the senior year next year and still get into a school." Jessica's father and mother were forced to look haggard overnight, with a lot of white hair. They once came to my home, hoping that I could persuade Jessica. My parents chose not to answer the door. It was really bad luck. They wanted to drag me into this again. In the end, they couldn't persuade Jessica and could only let her give birth to the child. James was just a small-time hooligan who couldn't even support himself, living off his grandmother's subsistence allowance and extorting protection money. With Jessica pregnant, they still had to rely on her family's support. Taking this opportunity, James moved into Jessica's home with his grandmother and lorded it over them. To avoid these oddballs and keep out of trouble, my parents chose to move. As for how I knew all this so clearly, well, I just bribed one of James' minions. I had the minion whisper in James' ear that if Jessica got into college and saw a wider world, she would leave him. With James' extremely poor family background, no girl would look at him. He had managed to win over the beautiful Jessica with great difficulty. How could he let her go? So he promptly got Jessica pregnant. Now, he had a wife without spending a penny, and what's more, her family was even subsidizing them. Did James really love Jessica? Impossible, he only loved himself. Jessica was just a profitable tool for him. Time flew by, and I also took the college entrance examination through my hard work and study since being reborn. I finally caught up with Elena, who ranked first in the class. Both of us were admitted to prestigious universities with excellent grades and became schoolmates on the college campus. I could finally pursue her. To make the most of this chance of rebirth, I chose to study computer science, since the short video platform was to emerge a few years later. I could just seize this entrepreneurial opportunity. Although I didn't remember the lottery numbers, I watched the World Cup. In the summer when I was 18, the World Cup was in full swing. It was held every 4 years, and by the time I died in my previous life, I had watched 3 editions. Betting against the odds could bring great wealth. The odds of underdog teams were very high. By betting on football games, I quickly accumulated wealth. During the summer vacation after the college entrance examination, I secretly became a multi-millionaire. When college started, Elena and I began the campus life we had always dreamed of. At this time, Jessica had just given birth to a child, a daughter. James completely changed his gentle attitude towards Jessica and called her a loser for giving birth to a girl. Not long after she had just finished the confinement period, Jessica was pregnant again. Since James had already moved in, he definitely wouldn't let Jessica continue her studies. He was like a blood-sucking leech, firmly attached to Jessica's family, draining their resources over the 4-year college life. Elena and I developed deep feelings for each other and got together naturally. She was a wonderful girl, and I would give her happiness after graduation. We met each other's parents. On my 22nd birthday, I took her to get a marriage license. My dear wife, please guide me in the rest of our lives. In the summer after graduating from college, I made a fortune again from the World Cup. I used this money as startup capital and started an entrepreneurial journey in the short video field. Another 4 years passed. And it was another World Cup. Thanks to the short video app under my company, I was ranked among the top 10 on the richest list in China. I was 28 years old this year. In my previous life, I died at this age, but this life was different. I was in good health, had a happy and fulfilling marriage, a beautiful wife, and lovely children. Wealth and love both nourished people. Elena was no longer the shy girl she used to be. Now she was radiant. She was not only my wife and my capable assistant but also the CEO of the group. She had accompanied me all the way. We had overcome various difficulties and finally built a huge business empire. She had transformed into a confident and brave businesswoman, showing amazing transformation and growth. My love for her grew day by day. At a business banquet, I unexpectedly met Jessica again. She was wearing a gaudy and seductive heavy makeup, snuggling up to a pot-bellied wealthy businessman. She was completely different from the popular star in my previous life. I hadn't paid any attention to her over the years. After all, she was just a stranger to me. She softly fed her sugar daddy fruits, with a fleeting look of disgust in her eyes, pretending to be so high and mighty. I didn't say anything and directly took the main seat at the banquet. Mr. John, you're here. You're really hard to invite. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence this time. I was the youngest among these people, but also the one with the highest status. The fat man who was hugging Jessica pushed her towards me. Go and offer Mr. John a toast. Jessica walked towards me slowly with a wine glass in her hand. When she saw my face, she was instantly stunned. You're John, she exclaimed in surprise. I frowned unhappily and looked at her sugar daddy. Since you're here to seek investment from me, you should understand my rules. I dislike it the most when someone tries to offer me women at the banquet table. If you want investment, introduce your project properly. Don't play these dirty tricks. I ignored these people and turned to leave. Jessica chased after me. John, wait for me, she was crying pitifully, pouring out her hardships over the years after she gave birth to 3 daughters in a row. James completely revealed his true colors and started beating her. She had 3 children in a short time, almost getting pregnant right after finishing the confinement period. Each time her body was severely damaged, and she was no longer as beautiful as before. James got tired of her body and started looking for other women. He didn't work, just hung around in the streets all day without an income. He would ask Jessica's parents for money. If they didn't give it, He would beat their daughter Jessica's parents' savings if most of their lives were emptied by James later. He even had the idea of selling their house. Jessica's father argued with him, and was stabbed to death by the drunk James. James was sentenced to prison for 10 years again. With no father and no husband, Jessica remembered her dream of becoming a star, but she wasn't from a professional background, and life had won her out. Big entertainment companies didn't think highly of her at all. She could only sign with a third-rate company, which claimed to train artists, but was actually recruiting escorts. "John, I thought about coming to find you, but you moved away." I sneered. "What for? I'm not willing to be a sucker to take over someone else's leftovers. I never thought you'd become a big boss. I thought it was just a coincidence of the name." Jessica still didn't realize her own position. "John, I know you like me. I promise you, let's be together. Okay? No need. I have a wife who's a million times better than you. I don't even look at a woman like you, a used-up slut. I don't mind not having a title. I do. By the way, I just want to ask, what about your 3 children?" Jessica's face looked a bit awkward. "My mom will take care of them." I looked at her mockingly. "Jessica, you're neither a good daughter nor a good mother. You're just a self-centered idiot." "John," she tried to reach out and grab me, but the security guards who rushed over pinned her to the ground. There was a loud thud, and it seemed she hit her head. I waved my hand, drag her away and send her to the hospital. Don't let her try to blackmail me with this. The next time I saw Jessica was in the men's restroom of my company. She sneaked in disguise. I turned around and was startled to see Jessica. "Are you a pervert? This is the men's restroom." Jessica stared at me venomously. "John, you were reborn, weren't you?" "What a good question." I looked at Jessica. Her eyes were completely different from the ones I saw at the banquet last time. I was sure she was reborn too. "You're so heartless, John. Why did you harm me?" "I harm you, Jessica, isn't this all your own doing? I didn't stop you from pursuing your true love. I didn't send your James to prison. Weren't these your wishes all along?" Jessica was silent for a while, then unbuttoned her collar, trying to seduce me. I felt disgusted. Fuck. She's even more disgusting than those male employees in my company who don't flush the toilet after taking a shit. "John, I'll give you another chance as long as you're willing to marry me. I'll let bygones be bygones and live a good life with you." "Is your urine met? Can't you take a good look at yourself? I don't want a trash like you. I'm afraid you're dirty and diseased." I made a phone call and called the security guards to throw her out. "Idiot, get out of my sight." Jessica was dragged out. "John, you just wait." I wasn't surprised at all when the fanatical fan who killed me in my previous life showed up in the underground garage of my company. Jessica is good at seducing men. It's normal that this crazy, psychopathic freak is willing to help her kill someone after all. Jessica lives to redeem this kind of social scum. What was his name again? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyway, he's just an insignificant person. The man put a knife against my waist, and Jessica came out from behind him. She looked triumphant, with the corners of her mouth raised, her eyes full of arrogance and pride, showing complacency and self-righteousness. "John, you didn't expect this, did you? I killed you once. And I can kill you a second time. I gave you a chance, but you don't know how to appreciate it. Give me 100 million yuan and a plane ticket to go abroad. Or I'll take your life, idiot. I've already been killed by you once. Do you think I'll give you a second chance?" I didn't originally want to cause trouble for her. I've always been watching infuriately, but since she was reborn, I couldn't leave this hidden danger and not avenge my previous life. I quickly twisted his arm, dodged his knife with a grappling move, and pinned the man to the ground. When Jessica saw things going wrong and tried to run, my bodyguards hiding in the dark caught her. I had all the evidence of her attempt to harm me. I sent this pair of idiots to prison. Jessica was sentenced to 8 years for hiring a hitman and extortion. And that man was sentenced to 6 years for attempted murder. I can be considered as doing a good deed for the people. I specifically arranged for this fanatical fan to be in the same cell as James. They were both Jessica's men. I think they must have a lot of common topics to talk about. When I got home, Elena was cooking chicken soup, waiting for me to come back. She took the coat I took off and hung it up. She knew that Jessica was causing me trouble, but she trusted me and never doubted my love for her. Dad, Come up quickly and play games with me and sister. My son heard the sound of my return, stuck his head out from upstairs and called me. 6 years after getting married, Elena gave birth to a son and a daughter. For me, the children are obedient, lovely, and have excellent grades. My parents and Elena's mom have retired early and are currently on a round-the-world trip, living a much more carefree and leisurely life than Elena and me, with a happy family and my beloved by my side. I have no regrets in this life.